After years of testing over 500 email marketing tools, I finally narrowed it down to the only ones that actually matter, that are going to make you more revenue, number one, or number two, make a noticeable difference in your performance. The rest are just noise, and trust me, there's a lot of it. So I'm going to be starting with the ESP, going into detail about your deliverability, tools that will help your campaigns and your revenue overall. So starting with ESPs, obviously the one that most people know about, I want to get this out of the way, is Klaviyo. This is a no-brainer. They're the best in the industry. They've been the longest running and have consistently innovated depending on the changes in the industry. They are by far the number one head runner. However, if you do not have the budget for them and you're not necessarily at a rate where you're big enough to handle that platform, then I recommend OmniSend as a fallback option. It's way cheaper and it is a very viable option with still a really incredible interface that you can use. If you're B2B, then I recommend HubSpot. Now getting into the tools that actually matter, that are going to change and make a difference to your revenue, starting with your sign-up forms. Now, obviously, everyone knows that you have an interface within all of these platforms to build in sign-up forms themselves, but I have to say, the number one tool that I've seen that is actually worth the money and outside of the realm of the ESPs themselves is Alia Pop-Ups. Alia Pop-Ups has taken on some of the biggest brands, including Olipop, Groons, and a couple others that are some of the biggest email marketing leads in the entire world. And there's a very clear reason for it. Their interface is incredibly clean and it increases the amount of signups they get by quite a marginal difference. Now, if we take a look at Groons, for example, the reason why it works so well is because Klaviyo doesn't have this interface that builds it as cleanly as this. And they've just rolled out a new feature where you can actually do a scratch and play. This is increasing tons of submissions because it feels a little bit more interactive. But the real key that they unlocked here is obviously the aesthetic of the form, but also choosing a pain point and then moving on to the next step with very little friction. Alia Pop-Ups is kind of a no-brainer if you're in a position of wanting to create more submissions for your brand, which you should be wanting to optimize for, and of course wanting to generate more revenue. Next up is one that we have personally trialed and we have seen incredible results with, that you can see over here with this brand going from these open rates to these open rates. Now, admittedly, open rates are not the most reliable metric that you want to be looking at in terms of deliverability. But if you take a look at our score from here to here, you can see the distinct difference in how we've been able to save this brand. And the way that we did it was using Maverick. Maverick is a tool that plugs into Klaviyo, and the way that it works is it essentially sets up personalization for every single campaign. So where you're manually setting up split tests, this will do it for you. So when you plug it in and you choose to activate it per campaign, what's actually happening that's helping deliverability is every single campaign has 4 split tests of a variation that's personalized. So the first opening line, for example, in email 1 will be, "Hey Jennifer, hope you're doing well." Email number 2 will say, "Hey, we just wanted to pop you a message here, Jennifer." So it's adding personalization, but it is going to be customized for 4 different variations. And the reason that works so well is you probably realize is because most times inbox providers put you into spam or promotional filters because they can tell that it's a mass send email. This basically just cuts through all of that. And that's how we've been able to get these kind of open rates from this brand, whereas before they were barely getting into the inbox. So this is a no-brainer app, especially if you're struggling with deliverability or at least want some mass personalization. Next up is one of my favorites because this is one of the toughest things to actually get right in email marketing is interactive emails. You either have to have really good coding skills or you just have to find a way around it. But Zamo does it incredibly well. Zamo is an interactive email platform that basically allows you to do interactive emails within the email itself without needing to redirect. So there's a few great use cases for this, as you can probably start to realize. Number one, if someone actually forgets their subscription, cancels their subscription, or anything like that, you can get them to reactivate it on the email with ease without needing to actually re-navigate to the landing page. This is going to save a lot of friction in conversions. The second use case is, of course, you can just add to your cart or you can restore your cart without needing to redirect as well. And the way they price their billing is not the same as Klaviyo. So it's not as expensive because they're basing on active subscribers. So unfortunately, if you don't have a subscriber list where people are consistently subscribed to getting your products with either charge of some of those apps, then unfortunately this might not be the best fit. But you might want to consider this because their interactive emails are incredible. You can create moving emails. You can have clickable emails where you can unlock certain things. You can do click to reveal. This adds a lot more engagement, and as you can imagine, not only improves the results, but obviously engagement from your customers, which is what at the end of the day you actually want. So Zamo is a clear winner, and they've actually been funded by Y Combinator, which is one of the best funding platforms for startups. But now that you have really good interactive emails, let's go to the next subject. Now that you have interactive emails, the next thing you might want to do is capture lost subscribers, and the best way to do that is with retention.com. There are so many lookalike apps that copy pretty much what retention.com is, but the issue with most of them is that they essentially cannibalize on your existing revenue and they take ownership of attributed revenue that would have belonged to your customers anyway. What retention.com does differently is they have an interactive API that essentially captures customers based on what Klaviyo or your ESP does not capture. And if you think about it, the way that Klaviyo basically captures information is mostly from people that submit and from people that abandon the cart and have enabled cookies. The way that retention.com does it is slightly different. They base it on how long someone has actually spent on the website, they capture that data and they put it into your email marketing. There is no distinctive difference between this and what Klaviyo is doing. It is still the same deliverability, it doesn't damage your list, and they have incredible methods of making sure that's actually effective. So what you'll do is you'll have an abandoned cart series, for example, that you've set up for your existing customers on Klaviyo, but then you'll also have retention.com, which is going to be based on the lost customers. Trust me, we were kind of skeptical at first, but when we were using for a brand like this, we saw incredible results in additional revenue that we didn't think that we would see. So I highly recommend at least having a call with their team. Next up is analytics. Now, one of the most important things with email marketing is understanding analytics and deciding whether your revenue is actually making a difference, whether you're seeing month-over-month growth, and whether profitability actually makes sense on email marketing. The same way that you watch your ads is the same way that you should be watching the amount of time that you're spending on emails, what you're sending out, and what that profit looks like from those emails. Now, with that being the case, obviously you want a platform that does it for you. And one of the best ones that we've seen is Hyro. Now, Hyro is an incredible platform. Again, you have to schedule a demo call with their team, but it's absolutely worth it. Essentially, you can plug in your Klaviyo or whatever ESP you're using, and it will essentially, from a 50-foot view, they will show you all of your analytics, each campaign, all of the flows. And although you can kind of get that innately from the back end of your system, I can guarantee you can get way more granular and actually see what is working, compare it to different benchmarks, and see what is happening in your account. So Hyro is a great option for analytics. Next up is design for your emails. Now, this is a tough one because so many people think that you need an in-house designer, which for the most part is true if you really want stellar emails. But I highly recommend just using Canva to go and build some templates. There's ways that you can use AI now where you can pretty much pitch to ChatGPT or Claude and get it to make a high quality image that you can then edit and use with Love Art. That way you can just go edit all of the functions and build an entire template within Canva, or just use the drag and drop function. But Canva is a no-brainer. And the second one, if you have a little bit more experience with design, Figma is a no-brainer. We use this for all of our clients, which has helped us generate emails like this one for Magic Mind, this one for AG1, and this one for Magic Spoon. So you can see the distinctive quality difference in all of the designs just from using Figma, which I highly recommend, and it ends up being a free tool anyway. Now, lastly, which I think is one of the most underrated ones, is Zero Bounce. Zero Bounce is essentially the most effective app and tool that we've seen in terms of list cleaning and making sure that you're keeping track of your deliverability score. Again, deliverability is one of the most important things, which is why, in my opinion, Maverick and Zero Bounce are underrated in this entire video. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good an email is, if it's not hitting the inbox, does it really matter? Absolutely not. So this is a combination of all of the tools that I would be using in my tech stack right now just for email marketing. You can decide what you want to place as your importance, but if I really had to pick just 3 out of the list, then number 1, I would pick Klaviyo as my ESP. Number 2, I would choose Maverick for deliverability if that's what you're struggling with. And number 3, I would pick Alia pop-ups for your sign-up form to make sure you're optimizing for conversions. The reason I picked those 3 is because the ESP is the number 1 generator for your revenue, and you need to make sure it's a solid tool, which is exactly what Klaviyo is. Second of all, you want to make sure that you're actually landing in the inbox, otherwise nothing else matters, and that's why Maverick is a no-brainer. And then lastly, Alia pop-ups, because the most important thing in all of email marketing is actually having a list to send to. And that's what Alia pop-ups does really, really well. So with that being said, you now know exactly what tools to plug in. Everything else is just noise. And now you can go and build really effective email marketing and scale hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, if you want a team to come in and do all of this for you, manage these tools and make sure you're actually using the correct ones, then go down below and book in a call and we'll do all of that for you.